Good morning. So, first of all, I must apologise to you for the lack of videos this week. Um, if I'm honest, it's been quite hard to compete with the previous massive swarm video, and so yes, the bees have basically just been getting on with it. Everything's been entirely routine, and I've struggled rather to sort of put anything together that I think is going to be of any more interest than what we've had to do before. So, however, today we've got further efforts with the grafting. So the last bee graft video I did, that effort failed again, and the reason for that is I experimented with putting just eggs in rather than young larvae, and it seems that young larvae are pretty much vital for it. So I've done another one since, and I've just modified my method a little bit. I'll show you that in a minute. But I have got bees that are hungry to make a queen, and I've put in a row of young larvae, and then going back and actually asking the source of the information that I've copied with what I'm doing here, they have come back and said, well, actually you can put a new batch in every 48 hours. And so, you know, that kind of turnover means that I think we can refine. They've continued to talk about how the bees get more practiced at making queens as well, so they should get better with that. So they'll be working with me in improving what we're doing. And with a 48-hour turnover of the cycle of putting in more eggs, it becomes somewhat less critical to have like a good output out of 10. So I'm putting 5 in at a time now, and you know, if I just get 1 out of those 5, then I'm pretty happy. That's giving me something to start growing with. And as we refine, I've just not got the nurse bees, you know. So every queen to start a new colony I have to give them 2 frames of brood and bees to start them off with. Well, if I was to get 10 in one go, that would be sort of taking apart 2 whole honey producing colonies. Now I wouldn't do that. I would take a tithe of a couple of frames from each colony, but we're not yet big enough. You know, we aim to be, but we're not yet big enough to take that kind of hit. I could sacrifice all honey production this year to grow for next year and be in a really good place, hopefully, but we have to have some money to live on as well. So so we need to get some honey together to sell. So I'm having to sort of balance growth for the future with income for now, and so the a slightly lower number of queens, well, that works for us. Now, as we look over here at our Newport apiary today, you will see that they are going nuts. We had a really good downpour at the weekend, so the ground is nice and wet again. So while it looks dry on the surface, you know, it soaked through pretty well. The plants are giving a really good amount of nectar. There's a very, very noticeable bump in the amount of honey coming into the hives this week, and so long may that continue. We've got a little splash forecast for around the weekend coming up as well, and that really helps us. You know, a day of rain a week seems to be just about perfect for the moment. So yes, so I'll light the smoker, and then we will go and look. I've not peeked in already. I have not had my sneaky peek, so we will go and take a look at what's going on in there together and see how this first iteration has gone through. Right then, so smoker lit, bee suit on. Here we are at the rearing hive. First thing you'll notice is this eek that I've put on. That gives you a little bit of a clue as to what I've been getting up to. So, little puff of smoke. So it's going under there because all of these, if you remember, have a mesh floor, so the smoke comes up from underneath and just calm them down a little bit. So I will put you here. Again, I'm trying not to put you in a tripod for the moment. Now, alright, looking through the crown board, we have some bees up here. This is good. I wouldn't have minded a bit more of a mass of bees trying to keep these warm, so that's perhaps a little bit of a bad sign, but we will continue. So, a little bit of propolis here. Okay, now, oh, we have some action. So all I've done is I've used just top bars and put them up here, and what have we got? We've got absolutely nothing again. Now that's really annoying. So you see they have made these a bit more solid along the top, but they have not drawn these out. Now what do I need to do? So I am thinking aloud as I film here for you. I'm thinking at this stage, just try again. Just give it a whirl, see what happens. Why might this have failed? Well, they're quite a bit higher up off the bees here. Maybe it's that. Maybe that's a mistake, so they're not sitting and clustering on them to be able to keep them warm enough. So maybe I need to draw bees up here somehow with some syrup or a little bit of sugar or something, you know, there's maybe that. Hard to say. Very hard to say. Alright, so that's again disappointing. I'm just trying to get this process rolling. I'm comfortable publishing this failure, really. You know, it's informative to other people. So I'm really feeling that we're pretty close to what the to what people who are succeeding at this are doing. So my thinking with this was very much I see people doing them in just like a roof. Now you need enough space for them to draw down the queens, but the queen cells. If you've seen the ones that I've shown you in videos before, they're about the size of your little finger, and so you need a bit of space underneath. But I'm wondering if these are a little bit high up off the brood frames there, and how I would remedy that. So I'm thinking, you know, could I pack out a little bit lower down on these frames? So pack a bit of wood down and see about getting them just that little bit closer down onto the frames. So what I'm talking about here, sorry, I'm totally unscripted here for you now because I'm thinking aloud, but maybe reducing this gap just a little bit. I mean, it would only need to be a couple of centimeters because these get pretty long. Or just straight up try again, because it's only 48 hours, and see if they do any better. So they've been interested in these. I think I'm just going to try again in the first instance. What I might do is I might just put a little bit of fondant up here just to make them interested in what's up here as well, just to try and draw them up a little bit and get them interested in these. I might go back to taking this off and doing it in a brood frame again, in a super frame, like the first two tries I did. I don't understand why they've not done that. They don't have a queen, they don't have any grubs under there either to get working on. So what are we gonna do? Okay, back to the drawing board. I will do another graft on here. You've seen me do that before, I don't need to include that in the video. Okay, so I have made a bit more of a thought of my plans as I've done the next graft. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start the graft down out of this eek in amongst the brood frames here. So I'm going to take one frame out and put it into this one where there's a bit of room for it, and then I'm going to put my graft, and I need to work fairly quickly here actually, because all the while the graft is getting cold. It's about 20 degrees Celsius this morning, and they've got all of this, but I just don't want the grubs that I've grafted to get chilly here. So they won't miss these bees. In fact, yeah, all that brood has hatched out. This will be a nice frame for the queen on the other side to go into. So I am going to put that bar right in amongst the bees there. Come back in 2 days and see what they make about that. So there it is now, not up above them, down there. Now my thinking is, once I've got that covered in bees and once they've taken some action on that, they will then get interested in it, and I'll be able to then lift it up. I'm not going to squash anybody here, am I? So I'll be able to then lift that up, and I'll tell you what, I'll shake these bees into there as well. Because these bees, and then stay like that. Alright, look at that, boys. So, I don't really like shaking bees because they then get all over the place while you're trying to put the thing in her head, so I don't do it quite as casually as some beekeepers do, where they just shake all the time. But one of the nice things I like about these plastic crumbles is you do put it down on top of a bee. She's not squashed flat, she's just squashed angry, and you can then just lift her up, and she's fine again. So in this one, actually, there's no empty frames in that one. They've been working well over this side. So I will have to do a bit of a frame swap, I think, next time, because I'm just going to take that frame right out. There's nothing that matters in there. Put that away and use that somewhere else. And perhaps put it to one side for safekeeping and come back later on. Now this one will be a bit delicate. These in there are right in the way of where I need to put the lid back on. So that's it out of there. Right, we are clear of these. So, right, put that all back together again, take that off there because that's hot and polystyrene. Right then, so, okay, so, I'm just get all of these bees right off this, so that they're not going into another hive where they'll get attacked because they're strangers. So part of why we can do the transplanting between these three is that they're connected on the inside, if you remember. So the bees are accustomed to each other, and swapping bees around all over the place is no big deal. So I'm just going to pop this one in here for these ones to look after. So I'll just turn you around so you can see even, although I'll tell you what, I'll put you there so that you can see. Pop it in this one, there's not many bees in there. I think this one is a hive that is probably failing, but those bees can do something useful for me. Look after that frame for a while. So, all done. So my modification based on the failures of that previous one are I've started that one down right in amongst the brood frames. Now I don't think I'm always going to have to do that. I think once I've got bees interested in the top level of this eek, they'll come up and they'll adopt things, but it's sort of training them to do it. So right in amongst them like that, the bees will look at that and go, "Ooh, grubs that we can turn into queens, and we need a queen." So that actual conscious thought process, of course, won't happen. I'm not guilty of anthropomorphizing bees like that, but it is that kind of process. Need a queen is the stimulus, make a queen is the result, but they have to be able to see that they've got what they need to make a queen, and so popping that down in there should hopefully trigger that. Now if that doesn't work, I'm going to have to go back and start thinking about what I do with grafting so with a paintbrush, a very fine one, physically moving grubs around into little plastic cups and get the bees to kind of start off those cups and go through all that rigmarole. Now, I have trusted people that have said that that's unnecessary, and maybe I need to sort of start expanding my field of sources to draw on for this. And as we have just hit June, we are getting a little bit late for making queens that are going to be that useful for this year. So I can do some, but nothing that I do out of this is going to yield honey this year. This is all becoming an investment in the future, and that's fine. I'm all right with that. I just have to sort of crank in my ambition a little bit to not hurt our honey production as well, because that's our bread and butter. That's what's keeping a roof over our head. So that's where we're at the minute. I will follow up, of course, in a future video. So I hope that has been interesting and informative. I'm very comfortable putting our failures up, because there's lots that we can glean from why that failed. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.